Hello, grade 6 students. Welcome back into week 3 online learning. I'm here to talk about the comprehension lesson of this week. As you know, we will be continuing online learning until the end of the year. First thing we will be doing is this warm-up activity. Look into this dialogue between friends. Ahmed. Leon, we have to go to Yas Water Park tomorrow. Leon. Why? What's going on? I just received 2 free tickets to Yas Water World. What? How did that happen? You know Dad and I went to play in the park. I ended up receiving 2 tickets after asking a lonely kid to play with us. Ahmed, please speak in order of what happened so I can understand you better. So we went to the park. As we were playing, Dad noticed that there was a sad kid sitting by himself and asked me to tell him to come play with us. When I went up and talked to him, it turned out to be a candid camera show that's giving away tickets to children who act nicely to strangers. So now we have 2 tickets to the water park. This is the best day ever. What was the order of events? So looking into the dialogue that I just read, you can go back a slide and think about the events that just happened. What happened in the beginning? What happened next? What happened third? And what happened last? Try to think of the events and place them in order. Once you're done placing them in order, come back to this slide and continue with the video and see what my answer is. Your answer does not have to be exactly as mine, but just have an idea by checking my answer. So number 1 was that Ahmed and his dad went to the park to play. Number 2, Ahmed's dad noticed a sad kid sitting by himself and asked Ahmed to talk to him. Number 3, upon Ahmed approaching this kid, the entire scene turned out to be a part of a candid camera show. Number 4, Ahmed received 2 free tickets to his act of kindness, for his act of kindness. And finally, he came back to tell Leon about the news. So is your answer close to mine? So by reflecting on the warm-up activity that we just did, what do you think the learning outcomes of this comprehension lesson is going to be? So our learning outcomes are: infer the sequence of events in a story, organize the events of a story through chronological order, apply time connectives to ensure smooth transition between events. We've done sequence, we've done chronological order. All of these are familiar concepts to us once we were learning about recounting. Sequencing. So what is sequencing? Sequence is the order in which things happen. Good readers need to know about sequence because it helps them understand different stories. Good writers need to know about sequence because they need to make sure the events of their stories make sense in order. Chronological order. Chronology originates from the Greek root word chronos, which means time. So what do you think chronological order might mean? Chronological order means the order in which things happened or occurred. Story events follow a chronological order such that the story makes sense. Traffic light transitions. So now we'll be looking into time connectives and transitional phrases that we use while sequencing events by order. You might be already familiar with this once we were learning recount writing and learned about time connectives. So every text has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We will look into what transitional phrases we use in the different phases of the text. In the beginning of a text, here are some of the transitional phrases we use. For one thing, to start with, at the beginning, it started when, initially, as soon as, to start, to begin. Always remember that at the end of each phrase that you use, we add a comma. These are some of the transitional phrases that we use in the middle of the text. For example, next, then, later, later that day, after that, meanwhile, also. Of course, these are not limited to the phrases that I've placed here. There are many more phrases, unlimited, but I just included some of the most common ones. And lastly, in the end, these are some of the phrases that we use in the text. Finally, at the end, at last, in conclusion, in the end, lastly. Do not forget the comma following each phrase. I'm going to practice picture sequencing. So now it's your turn to practice sequencing. Put the 6 pictures below in order, starting with which event happened first, in your opinion. After you have placed the pictures in order, write a few sentences in your copybook about what is happening in each. So I'm going to leave you to it. Pause the video here, look into the pictures, try to place them in order, and write down what the event might be. Teacher modeling. So now I'm going to show you how I'm going to place the 6 events in the pictures in order. Just remember that your events, your work does not have to be exactly the same as mine, and of course not the statements exactly as mine. I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do it as a reference for you. So I placed number 1 as this picture. To start with, this is the transitional phrase I used. I awoke in the morning after a refreshing night's sleep. Next, comma, I ate my breakfast until it was time for me to go to school. On my way to school, comma, the bus accidentally fell into a pothole, but luckily the driver managed to get out of it. Later, during the day, nothing happened out of the ordinary. As we were making our way back home, we fell into the same pothole again. This time we couldn't get out. In conclusion, I stayed up late that night finishing my studies because I arrived home late. The text that we will be reading today is an excerpt from 2 excerpts actually from the book called The Legend of the Sleepy Hollow. It is written by an American author named Washington Irving, and the first publication of this book was in 1820. The Legend of the Sleepy Hollow is among the earliest examples of American fiction with enduring popularity, especially during Halloween because of the character known as the Headless Horseman. Happy reading!